I just wanted to let everyone know I'm a LaCroix boy now, and I drink LaCroix.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your favorite host, Emma, here for another episode of Casual Obsession, where we talk about various horror movies and what we thought of them because our opinions matter. With me today are.
Yeehaw. It's me, Noah, the LaCroix boy.
We really couldn't have left that at the door, huh?
Nope.
We shouldn't.
Nope.
It needs to
It's
get
also
out.
me. It's also me, Noah's wife. No, I will not clarify any further.
And
It's the LaCroix.
and me, the non LaCroix boy, Dietz sibling, Jeff. I'm the one that's
right.
not actively disappointing anybody right now.
Yep. So yeah, me, Jeff, and Mr. and Mrs. LaCroix boy are here today to talk about Halloween, not the...
Jeff, are you okay? Please try and get it together.
Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. LaCroix boy just did it for me. Whew. Anyway, we're talking about
Okay,
Halloween
cool.
today.
Yeah, we're talking about Halloween today, not the holiday, but in fact the movie. Specifically, we're talking about Halloween, the original movie, which was released in 1978, directed by John Carpenter, who a lot of you will probably be familiar with because he directed 1982's The Thing, which is a very popular horror movie that
And a
I
real good
obviously
one.
haven't seen, but
It's
I've heard
so
good
good.
things about.
We should cover it sometime.
Yes, we
That'd
should.
be a good one to cover. So, the directing credit belongs to John Carpenter. However, he wasn't the one who came up with the idea of Halloween. It was conceived by one of the producers of the movie, Irwin Yablans. Yablans? I don't know how to say his last name. Basically, he wanted to produce some sort of horror movie. However, he didn't have a lot of money to do so. So he was trying to think of just something to do. And he was on a plane and ended up having a dream kind of about like a Halloween-esque slasher villain. And then pitched the idea to John Carpenter. They ended up writing the script for the movie in less than 2 weeks. And then they put all of this together. Halloween was originally released as an independent film and was such a success that when it came out, that it made $70 million during its theatrical run, which gave it the record for highest grossing independent film of all time until it was dethroned 12 years later by a pinnacle of cinema. Can any of you guess what movie dethroned it?
Can you please tell me it's not Titanic?
It's not Titanic. Titanic wasn't
It
independent.
Wasn't independent.
Yeah.
Oh, independent.
If it was
yeah.
independent, was it a like a Kevin Smith movie?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I will
Thank goodness.
leave you waiting for no longer. It was 1990s live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What? No.
Incredible film. Definitely defined my childhood, so I think it's worthy of having dethroned Halloween. A few fun facts about the movie that I was able to find out. One of the most notable is this was Jamie Lee Curtis's debut film. She was paid $8,000 for it. A lot of you may know Jamie Lee Curtis as the mom from, what was that
Freaky Friday?
body swap movie?
Yeah, it was Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday.
She's also the mom, one of a couple moms in Knives Out.
Yep. She was in that too.
She was very good. She was one of my favorite of that family.
Yeah, she did a great job. She's obviously been in a lot of movies, but I just wanted to call out Freaky Friday.
Yeah, the highlights. Really.
Honestly, I have
Yeah.
good feelings toward Freaky Friday.
Yeah,
I
it's
I
a
haven't
great
seen it in
film.
a very long time.
I've never seen that version of it.
It's the only one I've ever seen.
There's another one.
There's
I think there's a
3.
sequel.
There's 3. There's an older one than the one with Jamie Lee Curtis, and then there's like a 2019 or 2021 that's a musical.
Really?
That's something.
Yes.
I need to find this.
Please do not ask me how I know that.
Okay, so as I kind of mentioned before, this movie had close to no budget, and as such, there wasn't a like wardrobe department or a costuming department. So all of the actors in the movie are actually wearing their own clothes.
Oh.
Amazing.
After an early screening of the movie, a critic said that it like wasn't very scary at all. And so when John Carpenter heard this, he ended up composing the entire score for the movie by himself in less than 3 days.
Man,
That's what
that guy's
Spite does.
Really fueled by
That's a
Spite. That guy was
classic
like,
Carpenter
watch.
move there. He liked doing his own soundtracks, from what I gather.
Yeah, and this one is definitely, I mean, at least like the Michael Myers theme is very notable,
Yeah.
and it's definitely recognizable.
Yeah, the rest of it sounds kind of like basic Carpenter soundtrack kind of stuff. Like if you watch The Thing, it sounds kind of the same for most of it. All the like
Well, I
odd little
have not,
synthesizer
so-
stuff.
Another fun fact
Yeah.
that I saw was that in both the script as well as the credits for the movie, it may have been changed like later on with later releases of the movie, but originally the killer was referred to as the Shape. And the name was borrowed from the Salem witch trials because judges would often call spirits who harmed others shapes,
Oh,
which is an
I
interesting
wondered
fact.
why.
that's very
Interesting.
strange.
That's good to know.
Good question. I don't know why, but that's just what I found out. So yeah. So with all that said, those were my fun facts. I definitely have some thoughts and feelings about this movie, but overall, I enjoyed it. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Halloween franchise or specifically the first movie, Halloween is about a killer and his victims. The killer is obviously Michael Myers, not Mike Myers of Austin Powers fame. They're two different people, and that was a joke that was made in the movie. Nina, you know the movie
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver.
It's one of my favorite jokes in that movie.
Great
and I'm
joke.
pretty sure it's partially because they actually wanted to get the Michael Myers Halloween mask, but couldn't. And I'm pretty sure Mike Myers was thrilled with what they went with.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot to mention this fun fact. So let's rewind real quick. So Michael Myers obviously has a very distinct mask, very recognizable, very creepy. The original mask was actually a cheap $1 mask of William Shatner, and they just removed the eyebrows and the sideburns, then stretched it a bit and painted it white.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I love that a lot.
It looks nothing like William Shatner, and yet
No.
everything like William Shatner.
Yeah, right.
I remember hearing a long time ago that they turned the mask inside out, and that's what it was.
Oh,
But like,
It doesn't look
It
like
doesn't
that.
Yeah,
look
no,
like
that's-
it's
that is-
inside out.
Also, how would the
Exactly.
hair?
no, that's exactly it. Like, the hair wouldn't work if that were
Yeah.
the case.
yeah. But yeah, so that was interesting.
Debunked.
So, yes, so the movie starts off showing Michael Myers as a 7-year-old, and he's
6, I
kind of
think.
like 6 or 7.
6-year-old.
6. He's kind of stalking through his house on Halloween night and ends up murdering his sister in his room. His parents get home, are obviously freaked out, and then he's arrested and put in like an asylum. And ever since then, he doesn't really talk, and he's very just kind of like blank face sort of. And then, however so many years later,
15.
Noah, how many 15 years later?
Yep, 15.
he is able to escape from the asylum, and on Halloween night he makes it back to his old home and starts kind of harassing these girls, following them, and then at night begins to hunt them. And that's basically a short synopsis of the movie, and I'll fill out the spoilery part like once we get to the spoilery part.
Oh, that was non-spoilery.
That was non-spoilery because you don't find out like if everybody lives, everybody dies, like what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good non-spoiler
Yeah,
run.
that-
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anyone who's familiar with slashers, though, kind of knows the direction it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty much the thing. This is like one of the big proto slashers, you know,
Yeah.
like
So it very
this
much
helped establish the formula. There's not a lot to talk about because there's not a lot of plot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So with that, I know you guys have a lot of feelings about this movie, and for me, it definitely shows its age at times.
For
There
sure.
were a couple times, especially in the beginning, where I literally laughed because I was like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck?" Like he jumps on top of a car at one point to escape the asylum and like breaks the window to grab the girl, and just the whole way they
Yeah.
did that was just so awfully bad.
I actually
Yeah.
have written in my notes that I thought that whole scene just felt a little like, just kind of half-assed, like
Yeah.
like they really
Yeah.
didn't go as hard as they could have.
I
Yeah.
think my favorite, this is definitely aged moment, is you said obviously his parents freak out when you described how they responded to him murdering his sister, and I just want to say they did not.
Yeah.
They just stood
They see
there
him and they're just
with
like,
their
"Oh, hey,
child."
Mike."
They're like, "Michael, what are you doing?" And he's holding a bloody chef's knife, and they're just like, "He's probably fine."
It's probably fine. Yeah. I guess that's
Michael.
true. But in spite of that, and in spite of the fact that obviously being one of the pinnacles of slasher movies, it obviously is very formulaic to what we understand now. And so there wasn't a whole lot that was like surprising. I still enjoyed it. I have a lot of thoughts about how I think where I think this movie got some influence from, and I enjoyed some of the choices that they made with it. I wouldn't recommend it as like a good thought-provoking movie that
Oh yeah.
like will really make you think or anything.
This is a
but
good one
it's
to put on and like sort of half pay attention to.
Yeah, yeah. If you're like having a Halloween party some year and you want a movie that you don't have to pay too much attention to, but it will still be enjoyable to have on, like Halloween is good, or if you want to put on a movie and just like work on something, like I feel like this would be a good one.
Yeah.
I would probably give it like a 6 out of 10.
I
What
think
do you
that's
guys
about
think?
where I would land as well, like a 6, because it's
So,
it's good, but I
I-
didn't necessarily have a great time with it.
Yeah.
So I just looked up my old rating of it, and for some reason I rated this movie 9 stars.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Which is not how I feel.
Okay.
I'm a
I know I've heard you talk very highly of it in the past.
I think this is a solid 7. I think you can't downplay how it helped kick off the slasher genre.
Oh, absolutely, and it provided
But
a lot of very direct
also-
inspiration for the Friday the 13th series. So obviously,
Exactly,
I have to
but
love
I-
it for that. But
But I'm also of the opinion that Friday the 13th did it better simply because
Yeah.
it's more fun to watch Friday the 13th.
and I was gonna talk about that when we covered Friday the 13th.
Oh, so I will not mention that at all. I will keep my comments strictly to this movie. I put it at a 7. I think it's important that it exists. I think the first half is really good, and I think it really loses me in the second half. The third act, in my opinion, doesn't hold up as much, and that's what knocks it down from being a really good movie to a pretty good movie.
Really, that's the part that you have problems with?
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I didn't have problems with the third act.
No.
Yeah, I'll elaborate when we get into the spoilery review, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's I can't wait to talk about it.
Nina, I know you loved
yes.
this movie.
I don't like slashers. I'm going to be upfront because we're talking about slashers the next couple weeks, and this movie did nothing to change my opinion of that. However, I really enjoyed some of the characters. Laurie's a great babysitter, so she was easy to project onto, and Jamie Lee Curtis, young Jamie Lee Curtis, is a joy to watch. So, I mean, I don't like slashers. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 on the overall horror, but out of the slashers that I've watched, probably a 7 or an 8, I guess.
Okay, nice. What?
Okay, so we watched Friday Part 3. Where does that rank?
That one's a 10 because of the punk girl.
Okay.
It's a 10 for a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of really fun things about that movie. On a non-slasher rating, it is also a 5. I think all slashers are going to top out at 5. I just don't
Wow.
like them.
What has been
I think that's
your
reasonable.
experience with slashers so far? Like, what movies have you seen?
Oh, you've probably never seen them.
No, it's... I did watch, like, I think Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was a long time ago. And I've seen Sleepaway Camp, I think.
Okay.
Is the other one. And I liked the kills in Sleepaway Camp. I thought those were super fun. But the overall movie itself has some issues. So,
We should cover
yeah,
it
I
sometime.
just... Maybe. But I think that overall, slashers to me just don't hold a lot of appeal. I don't really have, like... I cannot express or explain why I just don't find them engaging.
It's because there's no
But
plot,
that's a personal
usually,
thing.
I think.
There's no plot. Usually there's no deeper meaning.
Not a lot
for the
of
most
likable
part.
characters.
I can't believe you'd say there's no plot when there are distinctly boobs in slashers. That is the plot, Jeff. Come on. Get it together. There's priorities here.
I don't want to sound like ooh woo hipster deep can't get into a movie unless there's some psychological thing behind it. Because I love the Final Destination movies, and I gotta say there's not a lot going on there.
What? Hold on. Now,
okay,
wait
so
a
if
minute.
people-
Hold
no,
on
no,
a
no, no,
second
no.
here.
So-
Where
so-
exactly do
so-
you
so-
get off
hold
saying
on.
you don't like slashers when you love the Final
Here's the
Destination
difference.
movies? When they're
I
just
love-
slashers
I-
without the good parts. Come on
No,
now.
I
No,
love...
there's boobs in those too, Jeff.
No.
Come on.
I'm not talking about... I'm saying it's just a slasher without an actual killer. The killer is
like-
the coolest part of any slasher.
I think death wanting to get revenge on you for escaping death is a really cool premise. I think that those movies are so cheesy and, like, dumb, and the kills are so improbable, but they still do make me think sometimes, what if a truck simply hurdled logs and I died?
Okay, but hold on a second.
So-
That premise is the exact same premise as every slasher sequel ever. You just sub death in with Jason or Freddy or whoever. It's exactly the same.
But Jason and Freddy suck and death is real.
I'm gonna come to your house and beat you up.
Okay, sounds good. That's on me for letting you know where I live.
Please, I have some evidence for you. Just listen to our podcast to...
I ain't
You
trying to
have
hide
to listen
anything.
to all
While,
the
while you're
proud of
listening to
episodes.
our podcast to solve the assault on Nina, go ahead and rate it 5 stars for me, please.
I'll call the cops on my way there. I don't
Before
care.
we actually move away from me not liking slashers, I will tell you the only slasher that I would rate above a 5 is Candyman. And
You do like that movie.
I really do love Candyman.
It is a good one.
And that's all I'll add.
Yeah. This was the first slasher movie I've seen.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And while it was simple, I'm excited to watch more.
Cool.
Because I think I'll go into why I'm excited for it once we get to the spoilery part. Because it's more just in depth of what I think of this movie.
All right. Well, we have all given our individual ratings, so all we need is the scary rating, and then we can get into spoiler country.
This is true. But first, we have trigger warnings.
Yeah, this is a really important one.
Oh, yeah.
Because dogs die in this
Two
movie.
dogs die.
Two
Well,
dogs.
only one is shown, but two
Yeah.
dogs do die.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
2 dogs die. I would say stalking. Is that a trigger?
Yeah,
I would
Yeah.
say that's
Yeah.
probably a
I
trigger.
think that's probably a safe one to throw out there.
a pretty reasonable amount of sex if that's a problem.
Yeah, if you don't like nudity, there's a decent amount of nudity.
Actually, trivia on the nudity front: Jamie Lee Curtis is one of, if not the only person with the title of Scream Queen that has not appeared nude in a movie to do it.
Oh, wow.
Who gives
Yep.
out that title?
Scream Queen?
Yeah.
It's
That's just their role in the movie.
yeah, it's just like the title that like the female protagonist of a horror movie that does the screaming that lives.
Well, you phrased it like the title was like important or notable.
Well, there's a huge collection of them.
It's
They
like
are
the archetype.
yeah.
You just
And
mean
she is the
final
only
girls,
one-
or
No, there's a difference between a final girl and a scream queen.
what's the difference?
A final girl, like in You're Next, that girl doesn't scream at all, except for when she gets hurt, but she is still a final girl.
So a scream
so
queen is just a
interested in
final
this
girl who screams
distinction.
a lot.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, that's a dumb
just
title.
like
All right.
how what's his name from Nightmare on Elm Street 2?
Freddy?
He's the first
I haven't
male
seen
scream
Nightmare
Oh,
on
queen.
Elm Street too.
him. That guy.
Oh well, never mind then.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So now that we've
with
got that
trigger
cleared
warnings
up.
out of the way, we have Emma's scary rating with me, your host, Emma.
Yay.
Yay.
I love Emma. She's
I-
great.
Yeah,
favorite
thank you
host.
so much. Oh my god. I'm blushing. So as I said, this movie's pretty dated. There's some kind of ridiculous parts, but overall, I would say it's not a very scary movie. However, it did make me jump 2 times,
Ooh.
Whoa.
which is the new record.
That is the new record.
And for that reason alone, I've got to give it 10 out of 10 scary.
All right.
Honestly, it made you jump twice, and you were watching it on a laptop screen. That's impressive enough.
Yeah. Actually, I switched eventually because the night I watched it was the night of the second presidential debate.
Ah,
And
yeah,
so
priorities.
me and Stacy started watching it, and then she was like, oh, actually, I want to watch the debate. So I switched to watching it on my PC.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Okay, with that out of the way, we are going to move into the spoilerly discussion of the movie.
Get ready.
Right off the bat, my favorite thing is that Donald Pleasance is the best-known actor in this movie, and for a man who's on screen for maybe 10 minutes, tops.
Yeah, he gets
He
top
gets
billing,
top
but
billing.
he is not in very much of it. He got like
Like,
this-
Hannibaled.
Yeah, this movie is an hour and 42 minutes long, and Loomis is in this movie for like 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, and he just yells a lot.
Yeah, he just kind of
He's kind of
shows
an
up and he
asshole.
acts really, really weird, and
You don't
wonders why
understand
nobody wants to
him like
listen
I
to
do.
him.
I want to interject really quick. Noah's notes say Loomis is so jaded, but every time I look over to Noah's notes, I think it says Loomis is so jacked.
Noah's
this has
got a
happened 3
crush.
times. Loomis jacked.
Papa
Oh, you know that
Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance.
Was he the
Noah-
doctor?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah,
yeah.
when you guys say actor names, 99% of the time, I don't know who you're talking about.
Nah, sorry, yeah. Donald Pleasance was Dr. Loomis, and good lord, what a mean doctor.
Well, and just what a
Oh, he's a-
strange guy.
He's a lost case. I just want him to be put in a hole and die. I would kill him myself if I could.
You're a doctor, dude.
And then he
Well,
does
and
shoot
he,
him.
but
can't
he
say
means
that.
it. He means it. The first chance he gets to shoot Michael, he does.
He does,
6
and it's
times.
like, yeah,
I shot him 6 times.
Yeah.
it's like, what an awful doctor.
Yeah.
Like, and if you listen to his story, he's just like,
I walked into that room 15 years ago and I saw nothing but pure evil.
which like,
Like, yeah,
I
he was a
understand that
6-year-old
he-
child.
it's implied
That's what you're
that they
looking at.
probably met more times, right? And he tried to work with him.
Yeah, he
But,
said he
like,
tried to work with
the-
him for like 8 years.
The assumption
But
that
like,
he seemed to make right off the bat is that this kid couldn't be helped.
he really did write him off as a lost cause immediately.
That's a terrible doctor thing to do. Then they should have got Michael another doctor, because like I'd love to get into the psychology of like whether or not that made Michael worse to just have this doctor who's like, so answering these questions probably won't help you, but it's on my list, so we have to do it.
Yeah. Real quick, before we dive too much more, let me do the quote-unquote spoil summary.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So as they mentioned, Dr. Lupus is a pretty important character to the movie, even though he doesn't have much screen time. While Michael was in the asylum, was it an asylum or was it like a prison?
It was an asylum. It was a
Okay,
mental
that's what I thought.
mental institution. Yeah.
Yeah. So while he was in the asylum, Dr. Lupus was his doctor and did not like him very much.
Are you saying lupus on purpose?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because it's been a few times now, and I just did want to double check.
Gluten Tag, Noah.
Gluten Tag.
When Michael escapes at the beginning of the movie, Dr. Lupus makes it his personal mission to go back to Michael's hometown to try to track him down, work with the police to make sure that he's arrested again. During all this, Jamie Lee Curtis kind of goes and drops off like a package or a flyer or something to Michael's old house, where he happened to be inside watching her, and then he starts following her around because of that. And at one point, Jamie Lee Curtis's character is walking with her friends from school, and Michael drives by, and her friends like shout at him in the car, which kind of puts them on his radar too. So Halloween night, GLC's character is babysitting a kid and ends up babysitting another kid so her friend can go to Bone Town. And during all this, Michael shows up and starts stabbing. Everybody ends up dying except for GLC and the two KDs, because she's like able to like escape from him when he tries to kill her, and gets the kids to like hide in a locked room, and then she hides in a closet, and he starts like breaking open the closet when Dr. Lupus shows up and shoots him a bunch of times, and he falls out a window. Then Dr. Lupus like checks the window, and Michael is gone. He disappeared. He's still alive. He's still out there. But yeah, that's basically the movie.
There we go.
If you guys don't mind, I would like to talk about my thoughts on the inspiration for this movie.
Yeah, go for it.
Please do.
Because I feel the horror genre at its core relies on the various fears that exist within people. Like fear of the paranormal, fear of demons, fear of like murder, whatever. Fear of zombies, like whatever the fuck. This, as well as perhaps other slashers, I think, but I can only speak to this one right now, I think plays on the fear of random murders, because for those of you who don't know or aren't aware, like most of the time when a murder happens, it's by somebody that the person knows, and so it's a little easier to kind of pin down / figure out who did it. But notoriously difficult are random murders, because there's not really any connection other than the one like happenstance of them bumping into each other. And I think this movie kind of shows that, in that Michael starts following around JLC's character just because she happened to go up to his house, and then he went after the two friends because they yelled at him. So I think it plays on this fear of random murders like really well, of this kind of like phantom, like, nobody character just following them around, not because of anything these characters did wrong, but just almost by happenstance.
If I could tag in here just for a second.
Yeah.
I think it also plays on the fear of being killed by somebody that you do know. Because the first kill that we see in the movie is Michael killing his own older sister.
Yeah.
And then later on in the graveyard scene with Dr. Loomis, the like gravekeeper guy is like talking about, he's saying like, what his exact line is like, every town has something like this happen, and he starts talking about some other town where some guy like just randomly killed his wife and kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I
makes
think it's
sense.
kind of intending to come at that angle as well, as the the idea of one of your loved ones just suddenly turning on you out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. But with this being made in the 70s, I think it could have taken some inspiration from like the New Orleans Axeman, the Texarkana Phantom Killer. Those were both like Texarkana Phantom Killer was in the 40s. New Orleans Axeman was like in the 1918, 1919 range.
Uh-huh.
But during this time, there was also like the Zodiac Killer and the Golden State Killer. That obviously now the Golden State Killer has been found, but Zodiac Killer is still unknown. So just kind of like playing on the fears that existed in the time.
Yeah.
I thought they definitely could have gotten some inspiration from there for this movie. And yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
I have
Thanks, Dad.
also heard that a lot of the inspiration for the characterization of Michael when we see him as an adult came from the shark in Jaws.
Really?
Yeah, that's why the mask is just like a flat color and the eyes are just kind of black and you don't really see anything. It's impossible to read it. Just like how it's impossible to read a shark because it's not a person, it's an animal, it's a force of nature. And that's the kind of the way that Michael acts through most of the movie as well. I actually really loved in watching it. I really liked seeing the way that the particular way that he stalks his victims. Like it doesn't occur to him to try to be subtle
Yeah.
at all. Like he's just out in the open, broad daylight, just following them around,
Oh, yeah.
staring at them openly. Like, like it doesn't occur to him to try and be subtle because there's no point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's interesting. It was weird seeing like how openly he stalked Lori,
Yeah.
I think was the character's name,
Yeah.
JLC's character. Because like literally there was a time he was like standing across the street just out in the open from Lori's school, and she could see him out the window, which by the way, if you see a creepy ass guy in a mask like staring at you from across the street in your school, maybe be like, hey, teacher, fucks up with that guy.
Or maybe when you see him the second time later that day, you think something's definitely up here. Maybe I should.
Or maybe the third time you see him, talk to your friend's dad who's a literal cop.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Like, I hated that man. Firstly, the man couldn't sniff for shit. They rolled up in a weeded up car.
Right. Like there's
And
no
he,
way
lean,
he,
he
didn't smell
leans
that,
his
right?
head.
There's
he
no
leans his
way.
head into it, and he's just like, "Hey girls, how you doing? Don't do anything dangerous. Someone broke in here and stole a knife and a mask."
But you know
Yeah,
how
I have an
kids are.
alternative interpretation, which is that he totally knew and wasn't gonna do a thing about it.
Which makes him a shitty cop and a shitty dad,
Yeah.
knowing that his daughter's driving stoned around town.
Right.
Yeah, but it's his daughter, and you
You know.
can't get
You
her.
know.
If the cop's daughter gets in trouble for smoking weed, that makes him look bad.
Yeah, I buy
So we're
that.
just gonna let it slide. And now she's dead, so I mean, she didn't get in trouble. It all worked out.
Did it all work out?
I don't think that it
Did
did.
the cop live through the movie?
Yeah.
Ugh, of course. Okay. I just.
The cop is
I think
honestly
of-
kind of a non-presence for most of the movie.
He was, but he was
Yeah.
annoying.
He
Lewis
doesn't
too.
yells
figure
at
into
him
the plot at
in
all.
one scene.
No, but it would have been cool if, you know who else didn't figure into the plot at all? That guy who drove the truck and was wearing the, like, clothes Michael wanted. And he's dead, so why can't that smarmy dude be... That's all I'm
I
saying.
guess.
Yeah, you got a point.
I guess.
My point is, I drive by a drive-in theater on the way home every freaking day, and 50% of the time, I can tell someone's been smonking to feed just by passing. So there's no way he didn't know.
So I actually just learned this other thing here. I actually wrote in my notes, Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't look high school at all.
None of them do.
But here's...
She was the only actual teenager.
The only teenager that was the high school kid? That's so stupid.
She was?
I can't...
Yeah.
She was actually a teenager.
What? I don't buy that at all.
No, I could not believe it. But, yeah.
You don't have to buy it, because it's true.
I guess.
What was she,
so.
like 19?
Probably.
Because in the to reference a favorite creator of ours, in the Kill Count by Dead Meat podcast, James, he mentioned that she was 20 years old.
James.
Sorry, I'm spacing out trying to read what you're typing while I'm trying to talk.
Don't read what I'm
I
typing.
can't
Mind
help
your
it.
business.
I'm sorry. I have no excuse.
Yeah, she was 19.
Yeah, he called her 20 years old in his videos, so I was like, well, then she had to be 19.
Right.
Because if he's wrong, it's not going to be like by much. 19 years old, little baby.
Little baby JLC.
So, yeah.
Yeah, all
I don't
of them
know, so
are
let's-
pretty clearly in their 20s for, everyone else in the movie, though.
So, let me dish my issues with this movie real quick, right?
Dishes.
So, dishes.
Dishes.
I like the first half of this movie. I mean, there's some flaws, right? Like, Loomis is clearly deaf when Michael attacks his car. Like, there's glass breaking, there's screaming, and Loomis is over at the box just like, hello? Hello? What's happening here? What's happening? Hello? Like, that... The car attack goes on for a full minute.
The car attack
and Loomis
goes on
is just
for
like,
far too
hello,
long. without
there's
Loomis
people
saying
out
anything.
here. So, I mean, there's the little issues, but all in all, I feel like this was building up to, like, an actual storyline that actually, like, kind of was about to work out. But instead, it, like, the last act of the movie is just one gigantic murder scene, and I just feel like I feel like it
okay.
drops the ball in the sense that the kills aren't chained quick enough to make them keep the tension,
Right.
but they're too slow to keep the tension as well. There's a lot of downtime where it's just like, oh, Butter Girl got killed. Okay. Oh, horny teen A and B got killed. Michael wore a ghost suit for some reason.
That
with
was
the glasses on it.
hilarious.
It was very funny.
That was the funniest thing.
It
He
is the
put
best
guy's
part of the
glasses
movie, but
on
here's
over
the problem.
sheet even. Like,
It is very good, but Michael has no personality. There was no reason for him to have done that because there's no point in this movie where I'm like, oh yeah, Michael has a sense
Classic
of style.
prankster.
yeah, there's
Michael
not really any
has-
point where that.
But he is a classic prankster because the way he reveals all the friends dead to Lori later, he's like, "Here's your friend
What's
that
behind
symbolizes.
door number 1?
Here's your friend that symbolizes my dead sister. The rest of them, well, they're gonna pop up like freaking whack-a-mole, and you're gonna scream a lot." It's like,
yeah,
why
that
did you
that whole
hang-
scene was
why did you do
some
that?
pretty basic slasher stuff, really. That's like
And that's another
that's
issue
a
I
scene
have,
that's
is, like,
in every single slasher ever. There's always a scene where somebody uncovers a big bunch of bodies.
But that's the thing, like, I like when Jason does that.
Well, Jason does it differently as
believe-
well.
Well, that's the thing. Jason, in my opinion, has the style. He has
Yeah.
the finesse.
Jason has a
Whereas
lot more
Michael, I'm
personality.
just like-
Michael doesn't really.
Michael speedwalks everywhere. Michael's just the man that speedwalks everywhere and has no personality at all.
Okay, now hold on.
His biggest thing is, like, tilting his head when he pinned Bobby to the door, which was a fun, iconic kill. But, like,
I do have a little theory about Mike's speed walking though.
okay.
He has asthma. He wants to run after all of his victims, but he can't. His asthma's too bad.
Oh my
That's
god.
why in
this is
every
no.
kill scene, he's just like wheezing through the whole
like,
thing.
No,
He's
I
also
buy that.
wearing a mask
I
with
buy
no air
that.
holes.
Yeah,
Which
feel
would
like that all
exacerbate
works
his
for himself.
asthma. I'm on Joe's side on this one. I think that makes total sense.
Okay, fine. We'll make Michael Myers has asthma. Fine.
Canon.
We'll
canon.
write that one off.
Michael canonically has asthma.
All our millions of listeners, you heard us.
Tweeting it right now.
Michael has asthma.
Make sure you quote me on that because I'm the one that said it.
Yeah, credit.
But yeah,
to
like
him.
every
Yeah.
kill scene where he was just wheezing through the whole thing, all I could think is this guy needs to just sit down for a second. Like he needs to take a break.
That is actually one thing I like, though, is the scenes where it shows him watching people and you can hear him breathing. Even if he's not, like you don't know that he's there watching,
But you hear
outside of the fact that he's breathing.
Yeah,
I
it's
kind of dig.
it's a neat gag for the movie to pull. Yeah, I liked that. Kind of like like the soundtrack in Friday the 13th. Every time you see from Jason's perspective, you hear all those little noises in the background. I'm
That's
talking
weird.
too much about Friday the 13th here. Sorry.
We gotta hold off on that. Let's talk
gotta dial
more
it back.
about. I don't know.
I do want to say, in response to Noah saying that you felt the second half of the movie was like too slow to really keep up the tension, I disagree. For one, I would say like the first 2/3 of the movie is actually like build up. It's kind of maybe like the day before or earlier in the day of Halloween, just kind of showing like the characters and their interactions with the setting, showing Michael break out of prison and Dr. What's-His-Face kind of trying to track him down and like follow in his footsteps of where he's going and trying to get the police to listen to him. And then I think the killing doesn't start until probably like the last third of the movie, which
Yeah, it gets really far without a whole lot of actual kills.
yeah, which I appreciated. I mean, this movie is pretty short, and so even then,
It's actually
that
not,
means-
though.
I thought it's like an hour and 20 minutes.
No, it's like an
It's
hour.
an
and
hour
40.
and 42.
Hour and 20 is pretty standard for slashers, though. They tend to run pretty
Yeah, I
short.
thought it was like, I thought that was how long it was, too. And then I looked it up because I'm like, what is it? Like 70 minutes? 80 minutes? But no, it's 102 minutes.
The whole thing feels to me like it's just kind of a slow burn. So I thought the pacing of the ending kind of made sense.
Yeah, for me, who's not familiar with slashers or anything, I was expecting it to be like minimal setup and then just a lot of killing and a lot of hunting down. But I appreciated that they like really took the time to set up and show the characters and show kind of like the stalking a little bit.
Yeah.
And then in the end, like, yeah, some of the kills kind of happened a bit slow, or there was like build up to each kill. But I thought it was good. I thought it was kind of well paced for what the rest of the movie kind of paced it out to be.
Yeah.
I think because it really kind of showed the fact that he like really stalks his victims rather than just like walked up and stab. I think if it was like really quick, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like at the first moment where Michael sees Laurie on the doorstep there, he's just on the other side of the window, and you kind of see that, like, you know, that's the moment that he picks her, sort of.
Yeah.
And it's not because of anything actually about her. It's just that the house was where he was going, and then she showed up, and he was like, well, okay.
Yeah.
But like he had the opportunity there. He could have just opened the door and grabbed her right then, but he didn't.
Exactly.
Kind of like you ever watch like a cat with a mouse, the way they'll kind of like let him go just so they can catch him again.
Yes.
Sort of like that. Like Michael is really personified more as an animal by the narrative than anything else.
Oh, he definitely is.
Like a
Loomis
shark.
says that probably like
Oh, just like
17
Loomis
times, I'm
says.
sure.
Yeah, Loomis is always just like, he's
Yeah.
pure evil.
He was
He's
a
an
6-year-old
animal. This is
boy
not
with
a
no
man.
soul.
Arr.
And as we learned in a previous episode, fuck sharks. So
Yes.
fuck Michael Myers.
Yeah, we did hear that in the previous episode.
Yep, easily It's an easy math equation.
Easy math.
X
Speaking
equals
of-
Y.
I'd like to talk about how Laurie's dad is the worst real estate agent on planet Earth.
Yeah, what's he doing trying to
here's-
sell that
here's-
house? What in the world?
he's selling
It's
the
been
Myers
15
house.
So
years.
shitty.
What?
Exactly. And he's like, yeah, leave the key under the doormat so the people can come by and take a look at the house. Bitch, what are you doing
What?
selling that house? What the hell are you doing?
It's been
Like,
sitting
that
there
house,
empty and haunted for 15 years. People are
Exactly.
scared
No,
of it.
but it's not even that it's empty and haunted. That's not even the problem. The problem is that it's in such a state of disrepair that it is an abandoned house. It should be condemned.
Yeah.
But
it is not in good shape.
like, what kind of real estate agent would just ditch the house like that? That's just tacky and dumb of him.
yeah,
but, you
it's
know.
just it's just bad.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. While we were talking about how Michael picked her out, I put that in my notes in 2 separate spots because I was still angry about it.
Yeah. I thought about it every time that they showed the house again, the whole movie. It was just like, is he really trying to sell it right now? You're not going to do
Maybe
anything
people
with it
want it-
first?
Maybe people want it as is, so they pay less, and then they're basically just gonna bulldoze it and build something else.
Maybe.
Yeah, you could definitely buy the property and then just build a house on that and make bank.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that we know Michael's going to come back and take your house away. So,
Speaking of the house,
Mm-hmm.
when Loomis and the cop show up there and they find a dead dog, and we don't see anything, but from the description that they give, apparently Michael killed and ate part of this dog.
yeah.
But upon looking at it, the cop says it could have been a skunk. I want to know what
I'm
kind of
sorry, he said
skunks
that?
they have in Illinois that they regularly just kill and eat dogs.
Oh, okay.
What
For
in
a
the
second, I thought you meant
world?
that the dead dog might have been a skunk, and I'm like, how stupid is that cop? But no, okay. Maybe a skunk killed a... Still stupid.
See, I thought the exact same thing, but then I was like, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. You would know if you were in the presence of a dead skunk because you always know when you're in the presence of a dead skunk. He must have meant that he thought a skunk could have killed the dog? I don't get that at all.
I don't get that at all.
What's wrong with
either,
this
I gotta
man?
be honest. No, yeah, that's bad. That's...
Well, unless we're just getting...
The cops of Haddonfield do not give me much faith in their local law enforcement. I
Unless,
think we can,
you know, like you brought
across
up
the board
earlier
say
with
that.
the car full of weed, maybe this cop just has no sense of smell and couldn't recognize it. I thought that was a really weird thing for him to say.
No, that is
No,
weird.
yeah.
See, I think, you know what else is weird, though? Is that they find a dead dog, and Loomis is just like, Michael killed and ate that dog.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, my guy, it is a stretch and a half.
Well, here's the thing, though. That's not a weird thing. It would be a weird thing for anyone else to say, right? But it's not a weird thing for Loomis to say because
No,
everything
I take
that
it
Loomis
straight up
says
face value.
is just
I'm
so
like, no, yeah, that makes sense.
weird. I don't think he says a single normal thing in the whole movie. Even when he's saying normal things, he phrases it in a really weird way every time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wonders why
Yeah.
nobody listens to him.
I don't know. I go
found
back
him to
and
be a
forth on
very
how I feel about
frustrating
Loomis.
character. Did you?
Well, he is a frustrating character. Like, what are you supposed to do with Loomis?
Yeah, I mean,
He's just
I
like-
feel like
he's out
since
here
he's
pointing at a
right,
dead
we're
dog being like,
supposed to be on
"Michael's
his
did
side,
that."
right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
And then he's really mean to the nurse in the beginning, too. He's just like, as a stupid woman, you don't really know what you're talking about. I'm a jaded psychologist. I know he's evil. You don't understand anything. Wow. Young with the stars in your eyes. I am a true enlightened scientist.
See, I'm mostly
She's
just
like,
thinking,
all
why
I
did they
said
send
was
her at
stop
all?
calling him it.
Yeah.
Why did
Like,
they send
Loomis
her
is so
on that
weird.
job at all? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why
Why
wouldn't
did they send him
someone
on that job at all?
Well, I mean,
They don't need his doctor to be there to transport him securely to a court.
I've got less questions about that. I just feel like they should have sent a larger, stronger nurse, or at least warned her about what was going on. Maybe.
Yeah, but at the same time, they were just assuming like he's locked up as normal, and then she's
Yeah.
just going in there to.
But
do
also, if
whatever the
Loomis
fuck
is
she was
afraid of
gonna
him,
do.
like Loomis isn't going to be able to restrain him. He's an older man. This is 21-year-old Michael Myers.
They sent him so that he can kill Michael the first chance he gets. They know he'll do it, and they sent him to
oh my
kill
gosh,
him.
that's the big brain play, isn't it? They sent him with a
Yes.
nurse that couldn't restrain him and a man who was trigger happy, and they're like, transport Michael to us in your car.
Yeah.
and
And
then-
sure, it's not actually his car, but it's a regular car.
Yeah, and then they would get 2 steps toward the car, and Loomis is gonna be all stop resisting and kill Michael right there.
That might have been the plan.
It's like, oh no, he didn't make it to the court. No. Tragic. Just another failure of our law system. Too bad we don't have to deal with this absolute maniac who's gonna kill people.
R.I.P. Michael, but I'm different. Loomis, probably.
On the subject of Loomis's car, actually, anybody else notice that it took him way too long to realize that thing was just parked across the street from him?
Yeah, no.
He's sitting there
100%.
staking out this house the entire freaking night, and then eventually he's like, well, maybe I should turn around an extra 90 degrees. And he sees
No,
his car and
more
he's like,
importantly-
hey.
No, more importantly, he's been staking out that house all night and a lot of the day and hasn't noticed his own car making laps of the neighborhood.
Yeah. And then he eventually looks over and sees it parked. It's been driving around the whole time, and it's been right there, and he just didn't see.
And you can't tell me that Michael's not grinding gears around the neighborhood.
He doesn't know how to
They
drive.
didn't show him. But yeah, I will 100% accept if this movie was made in the 2000s and onward.
Oh,
right?
sure. If he had
that
an automatic,
an automatic
he'd be okay.
car is going to exist and be much more popular. But Michael Myers is driving a manual car,
It
and
probably
an old
didn't even have
manual at
power
that.
steering.
It probably
He would have
And
been having
let me
all
tell you-
kinds of problems.
Yeah, my 91 Civic didn't have power steering, so there's no way that thing did.
Ugh.
That
Yeah.
poor man.
I don't know.
I don't know how he figured out how to do that, but can he teach me
Yeah, they don't really
and
explain
everyone
that.
else?
Obviously, I mean, Dr. Lupus at the beginning said, because somebody was like, well, he's not going to get very far because he doesn't know how to drive. And he's like, well, someone must have taught him how
Yeah.
to drive.
I
to
love
the
that. It's like
doctor.
that's
like,
another
accusing-
Lupus. Jeez, now you got me doing it. That's another Loomis accusation that we just let slide because it's like, well, he has been right, so that must be what happened. No, who's teaching
there's
who's
nothing to
teaching the
support
psych ward
that.
inmate how to drive out of nowhere?
It doesn't
just-
make any sense.
It's wild.
There's a lot of problems
It's
in
straight
this
up
movie.
wild.
Louise.
One of the sex scenes later on in the movie, they just got a jack-o'-lantern on the nightstand next to him.
Yeah, I like
What?
that. I like
Who
that a
does
lot.
that?
Not me.
But don't you get it? It's a sex scene, and there's a jack-o'-lantern.
Okay, look. Okay, look. Unacceptable.
It's the sexy jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. My bad.
You
I
like the
didn't
jack-o'-lantern
recognize
to
the
show your
sexy
partner you're in the
jack-o'-lantern.
mood, you know?
They didn't have internet in 78. What do you think they did?
Like, pumpkin.
Halloween was peak season.
And they were just putting these things out on their porches?
Honestly, this is a town
Sock
that
on
really.
the handle.
This town is really into Halloween, though. Like, there are jack-o'-lanterns everywhere. Everyone in this town is really
Everybody's
into it.
doing the
But none of the kids were
jack-o'-lanterns.
trick-or-treating. Like, everyone was very into this, but no one was trick-or-treating. You got the 2 kids.
Yeah, it seems like there's
What's her name?
one group of children out trick-or-treating.
Yeah, you got the one group of kids trick-or-treating, and then you got Lindsay and what's his name?
Tommy.
And they're just hanging out. Donnie?
Tommy.
Yeah, you got Tommy. Yeah, Lindsay
Tommy,
and
who is
Tommy
very
who are just
bad at
hanging
hiding,
out.
and Lindsay, who is very bad at looking, apparently.
I love them.
Yeah. Also, big respect to Lindsay for just ignoring Annie constantly while Annie's just like, Lindsay, do this. Anyway, boyfriend, haha, gonna bone ya. Lindsay, she was so awful. And then she spilled butter on herself.
And then she's like,
Yeah.
well, I
But
guess I
it
gotta
wasn't-
get naked now.
But It was hot liquid butter, and she didn't go, ow. She went, oh no, I ruined my shirt.
I
Like,
guess I gotta go out to the garage to wash my clothes.
I mean, that's confusing to me, but also I guess it makes sense. You know, you have a wash house.
I don't
if
think
it's an
it
older
does.
house. Well, if it's one of those things where if it's an older house where you would have had a wash house outside of your main house.
Is a wash house a
I guess,
thing?
But why not just take off your clothes, put on new clothes, and then go out there?
Why not just not strip down naked in the kitchen?
In the kitchen, of all places.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
randomly. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I've spilled things on my clothes a few times in my life. Embarrassing,
Once or
I know.
twice, yeah.
But you can keep
You're so
wearing
brave.
those suckers.
Yeah,
You don't
okay,
have to
true.
take them all off immediately. You can just wear them until you figure something else out.
But no. Well, and I would accept her having to take off hot butter clothes right away, being like, "Ow!"
Yeah.
But she doesn't even.
Except that she didn't
wasn't.
react to the heat. Yeah.
Yeah, she like I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed ill-conceived.
At best.
But,
and then
you
she's
know.
This was ill-conceived.
Hmm.
Michael Myers.
Aw,
oh.
That poor child.
poor Mikey.
Yeah. It's a bit
Halloween,
broken.
the episode that we all just joke about sex the whole time.
Well, on that
be fair-
subject,
Did they ever? I don't remember. Did they ever explain what happened to his parents?
no. I think it's
No.
implied that they just moved away or something.
Because they
We-
left the house.
They're just like, we don't want to deal with this anymore. We're abandoning our house. We're leaving our child in heavy psychiatric care, and we're gone.
Can you blame
I
them?
mean, it makes sense.
Their 6-year-old child killed someone, and that
Well, their
someone was
6-year-old
their
child
other
killed their
child.
17-year-old child.
It's like,
Oh, they were both
So-
killed in a car accident.
Oh.
Really?
Oh, that's right. They had to explain this in the second one for reasons.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
So
another thing.
I read a slight spoiler online for, I don't know if it's the second one or what it is.
Hit me with that spoiler.
It's that JLC's character is Michael's sister.
Yeah, so that is something that Carpenter included in the second one because, I mean, you know the story of Halloween, right? Like, he did not want to make Michael Myers into a series.
Yeah, it was
He wanted
supposed to be
make,
an anthology series originally, right?
Yep, where it's just a different creepy event happening on Halloween. But the producers were like, hey, give us some of that sweet, sweet Myers. We need some more of that Michael Myers. And Carpenter's like, yeah, I'm going to kill
They
him, though.
sounded like that.
And
That is
that's
what
how
they
we
sounded
got
like.
Season of the Witch as the third movie, was because Carpenter's like, yeah, I finally killed him. But he had to give us a reason to have any characters reoccur. So Laurie became Michael's sister, and when the parents died in a car crash, that's when the Strodes adopted Laurie.
Oh,
Weird.
Yeah.
Whack.
For those
I mean, I
who
guess it
are
works for the
unaware
needs.
among our listeners, Season of the Witch is the only Halloween movie to not feature Michael Myers whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of it?
it's literally
It's what John
supposed-
Carpenter wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to do like a series of movies that all just were like different things on Halloween happening. Kind of like, you know, how there's a lot of different little horror anthologies. There's like Trick or Treat, which is like, I guess, kind of closer to what he wanted to do. And then people liked Michael Myers too much. So that was why Michael Myers was even in the second one. But I'm pretty sure they were hoping that the third one would start up what they really wanted to do. But that didn't work. So they went back to using Michael Myers over and over again.
Yup.
Mm.
So I was watching this movie with that knowledge and trying to look at it as being an individual piece, by itself, kind of trying to view it in isolation from the knowledge that it became a series.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I don't think it. I think there's a lot of things that it does not do well with that knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I think knowing that it turns into a series and that it becomes a more established thing, I think this is fine as a first installment. But in isolation from that, if you look at it by itself, only on its own merit, I think it's missing an awful lot of things.
See, I feel like if there wasn't another movie, I feel like this movie would not have exploded.
Nah.
But it did without another movie. And that's what confuses me. And it makes me think like this was, the late 70s, early 80s. That was horror golden age, like everyone loves 80s horror, everyone loves 70s horror. I think this thing really kicked off because it was just at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Because, we have it's got a really catchy theme song. It's got an ambiguous ending that doesn't really leave you wanting more. You don't feel bad about the ending. It's just an ending.
I felt kind of
Yeah.
weird about it.
Really?
It seemed like it just sort of suddenly happened. It didn't seem like the story was naturally coming to a close. It was just like, well, all the killings happened now. I guess we'll just sweep Michael under the rug and that'll be the end of the movie.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair.
No, that's a big fair. It felt like, maybe they could have had him chained up and put in a truck, and then Loomis says to Laurie, he's like, well, that's the end of that. And that's the end of that.
Enjoy
Don't worry,
your
we
Halloween.
put him away.
It looks at
Enjoy
camera.
your Halloween 1978.
Enjoy your John
Ding, ding,
Carpenter's
ding, ding,
Halloween
ding, ding.
1978.
Wow, George, it really was a John Carpenter Halloween 1978.
The real John Carpenter's Halloween 1978 is the friends we made along the way.
Darn, I was gonna say, I guess the real Halloween was the 1978s along the way.
There it is.
That's a good one. I'm gonna make that my Twitter bio.
Oh my god, I feel
Yeah,
so
but anyway, though,
accomplished.
I feel like there could have been any kind of just a better wrap up to the ending. It should have felt more like the ending of a movie, the ending of a story, and less like someone just said, hey, that's our runtime, so bye.
Now, I will say, though, with the knowledge that it was supposed to be an anthology, it does make sense.
It does kind of feel
It
like an
does work.
anthology story. Yeah, but
Because anthology stories always end in the worst ways. They never have a good ending.
yeah, you're
It's
right.
just like,
Rarely.
oh, we could flesh this out into a big idea someday, maybe, or we could just leave it as part of a 4-part anthology movie. Up to you.
Anyway, here's
And
the
then it
next
stays
one.
as a 4-part anthology movie.
How many Halloween movies are there?
Nah,
Too many.
let me.
It's like
Very many.
7?
No, there's more than 7.
More than 7.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you want me to count the zombies or not?
The what?
I don't know.
The Rob Zombie ones.
Oh. Just in the original series of them.
So, not including the reboot, the 2018 reboot.
Yeah, not including reboots.
Okay. So we have the 8 original movies, which have contained within them, I think, 3 or 4 different timelines.
Oh. Why are there
You
different timelines?
Season of the Witch does one.
Does Michael create a time machine? Or stumble
Curse of
across
Michael
one and
Myers has a
use it?
timeline. H20 follows directly after 2, I believe. Resurrection is kind of off doing its own thing.
Huh.
There's a lot going on.
And then after that, there
But then
were
you
2
also-
Rob Zombie movies, and then...
Yep, Rob Zombie got 2 movies, and now
2018
we
reboot.
the 2018 reboot, and then we're also getting Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
Oh, it's finally going to
Yep.
end. Now, are those
Well,
going to be
this
sequels
time.
to the 2018 reboot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2018 trilogy is going to continue from the very first Halloween movie, and then it's going to conclude the story of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode.
And the 2018
And they
reboot
did-
is not quite a reboot, but kind of a
It's more of-
sequel
it's like a
picking up
requel.
directly after the first.
Yep.
Okay.
They got rid of Laurie being his sister. They do reference it in the movie, actually. They're like, I thought I heard she was his sister. No, that's just some stupid stuff people made up.
I
That's
really
so
want to
dumb.
watch that one now. Do I have to watch any of the other ones to watch Halloween 2018?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's a sequel. The only thing that you'll miss out on is a boatload of references to the other movies. There's certain kills, there's certain shots and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
How is Halloween 2018?
I adored it. I am very excited to talk about it someday because it is, in my opinion, not even up for debate, the best Halloween movie.
Cool.
Halloween 2021. We'll talk about Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
You know what? We should.
At that point, Halloween Kills will have come out, so we can probably do both.
Neat.
No, but then Halloween 2022. We'll talk about Halloween 2021.
Well, there we go.
There we
We
go.
got
There we
plans.
Yeah.
I love how on the Halloween movies in order Google pull up, Season of the Witch doesn't even have a poster. Like, there's no image to
It is
represent
disrespectful. It is
Wow.
disrespectful. But back to the movie we're here to talk about.
Right.
Loomis outside the Myers house being like,
Hey, kid. Your mother was a hamster and your father was an elderberry.
you know, like
That was
his
what
whole
he said,
like
yeah.
That's not how it
That
went.
was
He's-
but-
word
he's
for word
not-
what he said.
he's not scary.
He's not, no. The kid shouldn't have gone running.
Like the kid's
Well,
there,
I mean,
and then a
wait,
man
actually,
who clearly is
I'm going
hiding
to
behind
retract
a
that.
tree.
If I were walking up to an abandoned house and then some disembodied voice from the bushes were to say that my mother was a hamster and my father was an elderberry, I would probably
Which
get
is
out of there. The kid was right to
Yeah.
run.
He was right to run, but Loomis is not frightening.
Correct, yes.
The frightening part was that they assumed the house was empty, and then a man behind the tree was like,
Hey, kid.
It's the voice that he puts on. It's just so...
it's very funny.
like, I know it's supposed to be him trying to be scary, but it does not land well.
It's just funny how not scary he is when he's trying to be scary.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, he's got this stone cold insanity rolling.
Yeah.
Where he's just like,
You don't understand. This man's a menace. He must be stopped. I need pictures of Michael Myers.
and everyone just looks at him like, no, this is normal and this is fine. It's like, no, it's none of these things.
I mean, usually they're more like, "Whoa, what do you know about this? You're just a doctor. We're cops here in Illinois."
Honestly, you joke, but like, you say that because that is literally what they say.
It's what they
to him,
say,
though.
yeah.
Like, they're just like, "Yeah, what do you know about Michael Myers?" And he's like,
I was his doctor for 15 years.
"Yeah, what do you know about Michael Myers anyway? Then, 15 years, that's nothing. I got warts older than 18 years. Oh, look at this guy, Michael Myers for 15 years." And that's, I don't know, dude.
yeah.
No one took any of the situations seriously. They all, like, none of them were like, "Oh, Loomis doesn't know about Michael Myers." But they also all just listened to him. And then when he was proved right,
There's nothing. They're all just like, "Oh."
like, it's just like, "Oh, wow, Michael Myers, huh?"
Yeah,
That's
and also
pretty
just like
interesting,
from
Mr.
the
Loomis."
moment that the escape occurs and he's talking to that other hospital guy and he's like, "Why would you let him out like this?" And
Hospital guy's like, "Excuse me."
and the hospital guy's like, "Well, why didn't you warn us that he was dangerous?" And it's just like, you freaking kidding me? The dude
He's been
killed
there
his
for
sister when he was
15
6 years
years.
old. Are you telling me that you don't know that that's dangerous? What?
Why didn't you tell us he was dangerous? He's been in your care for so long.
Yeah, and
I've
then
been
Loomis is
done
like, "I
telling
told
you."
everyone, but nobody would listen to me." And it's just like, what is happening with these people?
See, and here's the problem with this movie. I'm having so much more fun riffing on Loomis than I did watching the movie.
Yeah.
And that's its problem. Is a slasher, like, we got our bones built with Black Christmas and Halloween. And then we all realized, oh, for a slasher to be good, it's got to be fun. It doesn't need to be funny. It just needs to be fun. And Halloween tried to do that with a few, and they're rough.
Yeah.
We'll cover them someday, I'm sure, but they're rough. But it's just like, I don't know, you got good moments, like the fantastic pillow talk of, "Hey, give me a beer," and then, "No, you," and he's like, "Whew, you got me," and then he goes and gets stabbed into a door. It's like
Classic.
that was good. That was I needed more of that in this movie, because that is what that was like a highlight of the movie. It was like, that's funny, and it's just a lighthearted moment that, boom, It's not good anymore.
Is that a lighthearted
That was
moment?
great. Well, how's Get Me a Beer, No You not a lighthearted moment?
I don't know. It just didn't feel lighthearted at the time.
It was like, you knew bad things were going to happen because of course it was, but like,
Well, naturally, it's a slasher and they just had sex. You know something's about
Exactly.
to happen.
you can't do that. It's illegal.
You can't.
But, like that was a fun moment. It was just like a good little shining spot of, aha, it's what I perceive to be typical slasher formula. And then the rest of it's just like, oh, we're creeping through the house and there's children everywhere and Michael just keeps sitting up. And
That's what he's doing, yeah.
because Chumbawamba did write a song about him because
They did.
he did get knocked
He
down
got
so many
knocked
times. But
down, but he
like-
got back up again. You're never going to keep him down.
It's really important to note that this Michael Myers was not supernatural. Supernatural Michael Myers did not get introduced until like 5 or 6.
Oh, geez, that
that's
far
I
in.
think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 5 or 6 that he was 100%. No, I think maybe it's 5 that he's like confirmed supernatural.
Wow.
6 at the latest.
He's supposed to be a regular dude in this somehow.
He is just a normal, boring person in this.
He gets stabbed and then shot
In the
6
eye.
times, and then he falls out a second-story window and just hops right back up and runs off, and that's supposed to be
Yeah.
a regular person.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. Is like
He doesn't even bleed.
there's plot holes like that make me unhappy with this movie when when like you're aware of the fact that he isn't supposed to be special. You could write him off as a special case in this first movie.
Sure.
Like by itself, you could make a case for special Michael.
He definitely
but-
seems to be kind of like ambiguously supernatural when it comes to
Mhm.
the way
Yeah.
he survives everything and never bleeds. But
Yeah,
on the other
but-
hand,
Here's
actually,
a lot.
almost nobody bleeds in this movie. I think it's because
This is
they
also
knew
true.
that they couldn't afford good fake blood.
Mm-hmm.
I
Also, they were probably trying to make sure that because of the violence and the language here and there, they probably didn't want to get caught too hard with what do you call?
Oh,
Get
see,
caught
I
too
thought it
hard
was
with
just
ratings.
a budget thing more than anything
It
else.
probably also could have been a budget.
Because
thing.
also, I don't know. I mean,
It's
it
a
felt to me like the
criminally low
kill
budget.
scenes were sort of underdone and also most times a little poorly acted.
I think the only blood was the sister kill at the beginning.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their budget. $300,000 roundabout. Halloween 2 had a $2.5 million budget.
300,000. That is not a
Mhm.
ton for a movie.
Yeah, and then it made up to $70,000, whereas Halloween 2 had a budget of $2.5 million and made $25.5 million.
Huh.
Wow.
Still like a huge success, but nothing nearly as huge as Halloween. And I guess this just leaves me wondering, like, what is it about Halloween that struck such a chord with people? Because it's such a well-regarded movie. Everyone loves Halloween.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I just sit here thinking, yeah, it's good, but I really feel like everything Halloween does, Jason did better.
Yeah.
And, that's fine. It's okay to have a preference of, like, this, the spiritual successor or the inspired one over the original, like. But I just want to wrap my mind around. Was it the score? Because the score is really good. The theme song for Halloween is absolutely iconic, and you're never going to, like, you can never take that away from it. It's,
Yeah.
I think
I
think not to harken back to what I said
no, please do.
at the
Please do.
beginning of the spoiler part, but I think cultural context has a lot to do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because specifically this movie was filmed in California, which is where Golden State Killers were happening,
Mhm.
as well as Zodiac killings, right? Those
Mhm.
happened in California?
I don't know.
I
I
believe
don't
so.
remember.
I think so. So I think specifically for like people in the California area who were scared of all this shit, that was happening at the time, and it also was, I think, nationwide news.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I think it was in like the cultural subconscious, and this appealed to that kind of fear in the same way as if a solid horror, not really slasher, but slasher movie about like school shootings or something came out like right now, I think it would have a much greater impact and people would talk about it in a more significant way than if 20, 30 years from now, if gun violence is kind of solved for the most part and there aren't like school shootings or anything happening anymore, or as in significant numbers, like people might look back on it and be like, yeah, this is a good movie, but I don't understand like why it was like such a big thing back then, or like why people like stuck to it as much as they did.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I totally understand that for this one specifically. I see that there's merit in it.
Absolutely.
I really have nothing to say because it's personally not my thing.
It's valid. Does anybody have any other thoughts about this one?
I just have one.
Okay, go for it.
I think Laurie Strode is gay, and I think she has a thing for Annie.
I
ship
can
it.
see that.
So that is not the case in later films. But I
But the
definitely
later
agree
Well, I
films
wasn't
with you.
watching later
discredited.
films. I was watching this one.
I definitely agree that it does seem like that's coded into this movie.
Yeah, just the way that she starts playing with her hair when they're on the phone together. And kind of keeps doing it for the following scene afterward until she gets distracted enough. And also the way that she refers to herself as the Girl Scout.
She does do that. I don't know that her calling herself the Girl Scout.
I would
In
not
my
think
mind,
that
plays
was
into it
anything
too
by
much.
itself. It's only because the idea was already in my mind that stuck out to me. But
That's
I don't know. It's the
Okay.
impression I got.
I'm about this.
Like,
I get behind it,
this.
You know, because when they're driving, Annie is talking about trying to set her up with some guy, and she's like, "Oh no, I'd rather go with other guy." And I feel like
And
that
she's
was
like,
supposed
"Aha,
to
I
be
hooked you up with other
deflecting
guy."
it. I feel like she was trying to deflect it onto like a guy who would be like, you know, obviously like out of her league or something, or like you know, somebody that Annie wouldn't try to set her up with, somebody unreachable,
Yeah.
just to be
Yeah.
like, leave it alone. But
Mhm.
and they establish
this
pretty
theory.
solidly that she's never doing things with guys, whereas her friends are, and everyone seems to think that's odd. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
That's just what I
you know
thought.
how young people be.
I like this theory. I subscribe to this theory. I would like
Yeah.
to sign up for this theory's newsletter.
It's gonna be the same thing every time. Just every week, I'm gonna send you the same the
This
same
is your
email,
daily
and it's
reminder
just
that
Laurie
Laurie
Strode is
gay.
gay. That's it.
Okay.
But
well,
yeah, that's my final thoughts. Anybody else?
I think that's about it for me. I don't know. I've said my complaints. I feel like I should, because this is a very unpopular take I'm having here, I should once again say, this is a very important movie to exist. I'm happy it exists. Unlike Poltergeist, where I was like, I could be like, I could give or take having watched this. I've now watched Halloween 3 times.
yeah.
And while each time I'm like, yeah, this is fine, I'm never angry I watched it. I might feel like I wasted a little bit of time every now and then, but it's not a movie that I feel bad about seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wish 9-Star Noah was here.
I wish 9-Star Noah was here too. I want to know what was going through 9-Star Noah's head. Was 9-Star Noah just out here like, an iconic piece of horror cinema. Much like the great Roger Ebert said, this is a fantastic example of slasher movies.
Oh my god.
That was what Rob
Ebert did love
said.
this movie though. Like, Ebert hates slashers, and he did love this one.
Huh.
Can't relate.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's go ahead and start wrapping up.
Sounds
Um,
good.
As I said previously, this is the Casual Obsession Horror Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Casual Horror Pod. as well as everywhere else at Casual Horror Pod, except for YouTube, where we're just Casual Obsession.
Yep. Someday we can be Casual Horror Pod, but not today.
Not today. You can find me, Emma, on Twitter at mjade72. No.
What?
At mjade2017. And I got a new computer recently, and so I started streaming on Twitch this week, and you can
Nice.
find me at Emma Panada. It's like empanada, but Emma at the beginning.
Oh.
Classic.
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 Oh.
Nina, how about you?
Okay. I'm Nina. You can find me almost everywhere at Nina Wolverina. The big thing is I don't post a lot of horror content to those places, but I do post a rapidly mounting amount of horror content on House Usher Rises on Twitter. So if you want to hear my takes on horror movies or see bad horror movies that I find at the DVD and record shop that I work at, you can follow me there.
Noah.
You can find me as Bubba the Bad, BUBBADABAD. Twitch, Twitter, and Insta, yada da da da. I only have one Twitter, and I talk about everything on it.
That's true.
But at this time of year being October, well, I guess not anymore by the time this episode comes out. That's one more day of October. It is what it is. Yada da da da. Twitter, just follow me. It's a fun time. I don't know. Man, my brain fell out of my head when I
Nice.
tried to do that.
All right, Jeff, finish us off strong.
You can find me on Twitter at Bubba Wubbadab. You'll figure it out. And you can find me on Instagram at The Hammer of Jeff.
And with all that said, happy Halloween and all that, because this will come out on Halloween. We probably should have said something about that at the very
yeah.
beginning.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy
Happy
Halloween.
Okay, we're done.